Hello, doctoral candidates. This is the first in a series of lectures. You will be guided through the steps of writing a clear, concise, and cohesive Chapter 1 for your prospectus. Module 1 will focus on the introduction of the proposed research study. Module 1 also focuses on what should be included in the problem background. So at the end of week 1, you will submit 2 assignments. One will be the introduction to chapter 1, and the second assignment will be the background of the problem. And here's what you need to understand so that you can produce a good product. Number 1, you're going to explain the purpose and structure of chapter 1. It's very important. You're going to write an engaging introduction that situates your study within a K-12 or higher education problem. You're going to develop a background section that builds toward a researchable problem. And finally, you will apply your APA 7th edition formatting and use a scholarly tone. According to Creswell, the introduction serves 3 functions. It sets the stage for your study, it creates an interest for your study, and it narrows the focus of your study. Think of it as a funnel or an inverted triangle. You start at the top, very broad, and as you move down, you're at the top, you're giving the overview. And as the funnel narrows, you begin to introduce the particular academic problem that you want to explore with your study. And then you narrow it completely down to the specific issue that your study will address. One key point is to avoid personal storytelling and instead use current data, like within the last 5 years, credible sources that are peer reviewed, and national trends to demonstrate the significance of your problem, and cite your sources. So the background of the problem provides the scholarly depth. I call it's the meat of your study. This is where you will review its historical significance of the problem, rather. Creswell describes this section as the section that summarizes previous studies and identifies a gap that your proposed research intends to fulfill. In the problem background, you synthesize, not summarize the literature. Synthesize, not summarize. Look for what's consistent, what's debated, and most importantly, what is missing in the literature. I'm going to repeat that. Look for what's consistent, what's consistently said in the literature, what is consistently debated in the literature, and what has not been debated, what has not been said, what has not been discovered, who has not been studied. You will end this section with a transition that makes the reader or the academic community say, I see exactly why this study is needed. So maintaining a formal scholarly tone instead of a conversational tone is absolutely essential writing your dissertation. This is a technical document. This is not a document where you can use your creativity. So we want to avoid the uses of first person pronouns like I, we, us. Focus on the issue, not on your personal motivation for conducting this study. Again, you're going to focus on the issue or the research problem, but not on your motivation to study this. So keep it factual. Use APA 7th edition formatting, double spacing, 12-point font, Times New Roman, and use level headings. Support your claims. Any claim that you make, any assertion that you make should be supported by credible sources. So, in other words, you have to cite what you write. And so you ensure that every citation that you make within your document appears in your reference list. Even in early drafts of your dissertation, academic precision is one of the indicators that you are ready and that you are prepared for PhD level research. Here are some common pitfalls to avoid. Writing personally, that we just should not know that you have personal feelings or personal biases in your writing. And oftentimes, especially in the early drafts, we can tell how you feel about this research problem because your biases show up in the kinds of words that you use, how you describe it, the adjectives that you use, the adverbs that you use. Keep it technical, focus on the research problem and not on your personal story. Listing studies instead of synthesizing studies is another common pitfall. We don't want you to just list a series of studies about this problem. You have to show patterns. You need to show relationships between these studies. That is how you synthesize. It's kind of like making a cake, right? You can't just dump everything in the mixing bowl and then pop it in the oven without mixing it together, without blending it. So you got to be able to have those relationships showing so that it makes sense. And that leads to having a poor flow in your writing. You need to be able to connect the paragraphs logically so that the academic community can follow your argument and follow your logic. We need to be able to follow the problem and understand where you are headed with it. So before you submit your assignments, do yourself a favor and make a checklist, okay? So, few simple things. Does your study clearly define the academic, the research problem that you are studying? Is it clearly defined? And it must be connected to a K-12 or a higher ed education problem. Must be. Does your background synthesize what's known and what's missing? Are all the citations current and formatted properly? And does your writing sound scholarly and professional? You can say yes to these 4 questions. You are on the right track. So, summarizing what we discussed today, your introduction and the background of the problem are the intellectual foundation and the underpinnings of Chapter 1. Without a good introduction and without a good background of the problem, it makes for a weak start to your prospectus. And so ensure that your introduction and your problem background are strong because they are the intellectual foundation of your problem. They show that you actually understand your research problem. Okay, that's what it says to us. That's what it says to your committee. That's what it says to the academic community that you are making this case for. These components demonstrate that you can identify a meaningful gap in the scholarly literature and that you can clearly communicate it. That's very important. In Module 2, we'll take the next step, which is crafting your statement of the problem. But in the meanwhile, keep writing, keep citing, and keep refining your scholarly voice. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next module.